Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we're going to cover an absolutely classic TYT meltdown because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman that they helped put into power with Justice Democrats, an organization started by Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski together, recently said that she is with Joseph R. Biden, and Cenk has been itching to replace him for a very long time, well before his recent debate performance, so he is absolutely enraged that all of the Democrats are falling behind Joe Biden, and the absolutely amazing thing about this is that even though Joe Biden looked terrible in that debate, even though he looks like he definitely has some form of dementia, even though he looks like he's way too old to be president of the United States, Cenk is still wrong in his analysis, so that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay, you ready for some breaking news that will surely disappoint you?
Of course.
So Ryan Noble's reporting on X. Representative AOC tells us she spoke with President Biden over the weekend and it's time to end the speculation over his future. Quote, Joe Biden is our nominee. He is not leaving this race. He is in this race and I support him. There's more.
So first of all, right off the bat, I am absolutely elated that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has decided to throw her support behind Joe Biden because you could just see the anger, the upset, the disdain from the Young Turks panel right here. And even though Anna is my literal bestie, the fact of the matter is I do have to take some joy in this because Cenk has put so much into the Justice Democrats, into these real progressives, and he is surprised that they act just like progressive candidates that he has supported in the past. I know a lot of people were angry that Bernie Sanders ended up endorsing Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, but Bernie always endorses the Democratic nominee, so it should be unsurprising that the students of Bernie Sanders also follow suit and bend the knee to the president. Not to mention the fact that, again, I'm going to explain to you in great detail how Cenk Uygur's arguments are completely wrong, and they actually should be getting behind Joe Biden because it's the only choice they have if all you care about is winning the election. I know a lot of people are saying replacing Joe Biden would be the best move, but it's absolutely not true, as I will explain to you throughout the course of this video.
There's more. Now, what I think is critically important right now is that we focus on what it takes to win in November because he is running against Donald Trump.
Everybody would be running against Donald Trump. They make it seem like Joe Biden is the only one who gets to run against Donald Trump. You know, a Democrat, a generic Democrat that will start with 10 points higher lead is also running against Trump, except would be 10 points higher. So look, progressives are sticking with Biden more than establishment Democrats are. It doesn't matter, you'll get blamed anyway at the end of the election.
But why? Why are they doing it?
Because I think that they don't know strategy at all. They're just flummoxed by strategy. If you tell AOC strategies, you're like, oh, how dare you?
First of all, you gotta love Cenk's overreactions, over-enunciations, and absolute panic. And you also gotta enjoy the fact that he is pointing out something that we all knew for a very long time the moment that we saw Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which is that she's not a strategic thinker, even though at this moment in time, somebody in her ear is likely a strategic thinker. Because Cenk is like, oh, well, a generic Democrat polls 10 points ahead of Joe Biden, therefore they should definitely replace him. But the fact of the matter is, those generic Democrats or generic Republican polls don't stand up to scrutiny when you actually have a candidate's name attached to that. On top of that, while the Democrats might have some prospective candidates, and by the way, this is a criticism that Cenk has leveled before, he even ran for president because there was no real primary against Joe Biden, the fact of the matter is, none of these candidates who are any good, who could win a Democratic primary, are going to sign up for this last-minute replacement move because they think that they have a future in 2028. I mean, think about it. If you're Gretchen Whitmer and you think you can be president and you can win the nomination outright in a clean way in 2028, why would you sacrifice your political career for a long shot victory, which is what it would be, by the way, if you replace Biden in some shady way at the convention? If you're Gavin Newsom, the same thing, but on top of that, you also have the problem of Kamala Harris's home state being California, so you would have to replace both ends of the ticket. And of course, we have Kamala Harris, who's an absolute doofus in every possible way, one of the most pandering, absurd politicians that you could possibly have. Remember my video on her little BET thing, and remember what I said about her and collard greens, because she likes to cook with them, allegedly. And yeah, you don't really have anyone that is willing to take this position that is any good. And again, you will likely lose the election if you swap Biden. In fact, it is almost a guaranteed 100% loss if you swap Biden, but you have a minuscule chance, or at least some level of a chance, if you keep him in the race. And don't take this from me, take this from a guy who's been successful in predicting presidential elections for years and years in this country, a better track record than any political pundit, because he made it absolutely clear.
Alan Lichtman is a presidential historian known for the 13 keys to the White House, a forecasting system that has been used to successfully predict 9 of the last 10 elections. To him,
it is still the best bet for Democrats to have Biden stay in the race.
So yeah, this guy has a metric. One of his metrics is the incumbent advantage for presidents. And he has pointed out that if Biden were to leave for any other candidate, they would lose that advantage and almost guaranteed to lose the election.
The 13 keys to the White House are 13 true-false questions pertaining primarily to the strength and performance of the White House party, where an answer of true always favors stability. If 6 or more of the keys are false, we have earthquakes. If fewer than 6 are false, we have stability.
However, if Biden were to exit the race, 2 of the 13 keys would automatically be in jeopardy. The incumbency key, whether or not the incumbent candidate is the sitting president, and the contest key, which looks at whether there is competition within the incumbent party for the nomination.
Biden running checks off 2 keys, right? Biden steps aside. They lose, obviously, the incumbency, and it's not at all clear that there wouldn't be a big party fight.
So again, this is somebody who's been correct a whole bunch of times as compared to Cenk Uygur, who says, oh, I predicted Hillary Clinton would lose in 2016, which congratulations for that, but you also predicted that Joe Biden wouldn't win in the primaries or in the general election, and you were wrong about that on both accounts. Meanwhile, I predicted Biden would not only win in the Democratic primaries, but I predicted that he would win because of black voters, and specifically turn it around in South Carolina, and I predicted this a year out from the South Carolina primary, but nobody comes to me for analysis, even though I've been the mostest correct, except for all the times that I've been wrong, which are quite notable.
First of all, she should have never given him the endorsement in the first place. She should have used it as leverage to get something, anything. How about something as simple as paid family leave that polls at 84%? At least have him pressure Schumer to introduce it in the Senate. These are layups, but they hate using their leverage. And I'm sorry, I love Bernie, but it starts with Bernie. He never, ever uses his leverage.
So Cenk says, oh, if she's going to endorse him, she should at least use her leverage to get something like paid family leave that, according to the top line polling, polls at 84%. Now, we've talked about on this channel so many times how top line polling numbers don't really mean anything. They don't actually indicate support from the American people, because if you put something in a poll that sounds really nice, people will support it. But when you get to the nitty gritty of actually trying to institute it in terms of policy, it ultimately ends up falling apart. How many people thought we needed healthcare reform under the Obama administration, but when he actually passed said healthcare reform, what ended up happening? He lost 1,000 seats in state legislatures, lost the Congress, had all sorts of problems post that piece of legislation, and really wasn't able to accomplish almost anything after that. That's because the top line polling of we need healthcare reform is not good enough, because anytime you touch that particular issue, you end up dying politically. Secondly, he talks about Ocasio-Cortez using her leverage. She has no leverage. The idea that she is going to endorse Trump or some other candidate is just not true. She's never going to do that. So whether she formally endorses Joe Biden or not, that's not going to move the needle on a single voter. The real reason that Cenk is angry, by the way, is because of the whole Israel-Palestine thing. He doesn't like how, in his view, Biden is too pro-Israel. So he's looking for a reason to attack Joe Biden. He's also trying to be correct in this instance by saying, oh, he's going to lose the election, so he could say he called it later. But the fact of the matter is, Cenk has been very hit or miss when it comes to election predictions. He was talking about Hillary winning, by the way, day of the election, even though he said he predicted it before that. He just made both predictions. And then when it comes to Joe Biden, he again said that he was definitely going to lose.
Right? Instead, they'll go, oh, here, have it. And then what happens? You think that helps? The minute they get a chance, they're going to bury you anyway. If you're not sure, call Jamal Bowman and see how it turned out for him. So this is a terrible strategy of stick with Biden to the end. And then the progressives look like they're the ones that are holding on to an incompetent guy who's going to lose to Donald Trump. Why would you do that? The establishment Democrats are the losers who don't know how to govern this party. This is what progressives should be saying at the top of their lungs. We told you, not about Biden, not to just rub it in. No, guys, strategically.
Now, again, I'm not somebody who praises progressives or anything like that, or progressive members of Congress, as they happen to be among the worst in a lot of regards, in my opinion. But the fact of the matter is, like I said before, it is actually a good strategy to double down on Biden because the Democrats don't have any choice. Like I said, they are likely to lose the election 100% if they swap Biden, according to actual experts who have been correct on the predictions and according to basic logic. And with Biden, they at least have some modicum of a chance.
We told you when they picked the establishment leader in 2016, Hillary Clinton, and they pretended they knew what they were doing, that they didn't know anything. And they lost to a buffoon named Donald Trump. And we told you that Joe Biden was not the right guy in 2024. And we were right again. But instead of being right, instead of taking the victory, she's finding a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
So Cenk says, we told you Biden's not the right guy in 2024, and they were wrong. And again, if you would have had a primary system where maybe Joe Biden lost the primary, the Democrats probably end up losing that election anyway, then you can make that argument. But at this point in time, the only strategy is to double down on Biden, especially when he says he's absolutely 100% not leaving, which, by the way, I said he was definitely not leaving.
I don't understand how anyone can just ignore what the data is telling us about Biden's chances of beating Donald Trump. It's like they're just ignoring all of that.
No, anyone. This is a stone cold fact. Look, Nate Silver's screaming this at the top of his lungs, just like I am, because we understand numbers. We've been in politics for 25 to 30 years. No, get this through your heads. No incumbent in the 40s is likely to win an election. They are very, very unlikely if they're in the 40s. No incumbent in the 30s in an election year has ever won, ever in American history.
So look, Biden's approval rating and his numbers are very low. His polling numbers are not good. It looks like Donald Trump is running a clean election to win his second term. But the fact of the matter is, Trump is a very polarizing candidate. I know a lot of people absolutely love him out there in my audience, but if you had a different Republican against Joe Biden, I would say it is definitely a lock for that person to win, depending on who it is, of course. But the fact of the matter is, Trump, of all people, because he's so polarizing, can drive negative people out to vote against him. That is something that other Republicans just don't have the ability to do. So this can ultimately end up aiding Joe Biden. And again, we are going to see some level of a convention bump in August for him, and we will see what goes down during the second debate after he has secured the nomination. So even though I understand the numbers that Cenk is bringing up, I understand that Biden is very unlikely to win re-election with his polling numbers in a standard situation. It's not really a standard situation because Trump was president before. He's also an incumbent. He has a record. And again, he is one of the most polarizing and toxic people to the Democratic voting base, and they are likely to come out to vote against him no matter what.
So even if it was like, oh my God, we got Andy Beshear and he's like, maybe we don't agree with all of his policies, but my God, he's won as a Democrat twice in Kentucky, and he's got these super popular things. Even he would struggle to make up this kind of a deficit. Okay, even the most dynamic, greatest Democrat or any politician would struggle to make up this kind of deficit. But Biden's he's gonna stabilize, then make up 16 points in approval. He was at 52 when he barely won. He's at 36 now. Do you understand politics at all? And I'm sorry, but progressives in Congress demonstrate every single day that they do not understand politics.
That is correct. I totally agree with you on that.
So Cenk right now is saying that the progressives in Congress don't understand politics. But the funny thing is while this is true, while we saw that when Ocasio-Cortez introduced things like the Green New Deal and all these other absurd pieces of legislation, the fact of the matter is the only move for Democrats once Biden says he's refusing to leave the race is to back him. It is the only politically savvy maneuver that you can have, and Biden is somebody who is not likely to listen to someone who ends up selling him down the river or has sold him down the river in the past. One of the reasons why the Obama people and the Clinton people cannot get into the Biden camp and convince him to leave is because these very same people and Barack Obama himself didn't back Joe Biden in 2016 when he thought he should have had the support of his president and his president's former campaign staff. So Biden didn't run in 2016. He essentially gave the nomination to Hillary Clinton, despite the fact that he thought he would do better in a bunch of Midwestern states with working class white voters, which by the way is likely to be true, and could have won in 2016. But because all these people aligned against him then, he's upset about that because Hillary ultimately ended up losing. He played the role of a subservient Democrat who bent the knee to another candidate, and it didn't work out for the party. So then when he ran in 2020, he decided that he was just going to go despite what anybody said. And by the way, Obama in 2020, despite the left-wing conspiracies about Bloody Monday, where Obama called all the candidates and forced them to drop out, he did not actually have the backing of Barack Obama. Again, you can read the book Lucky, How Joe Biden Barely Won the Presidency. You'll find the documentation to all of this. You'll find statements from CEOs, black CEOs that Obama met with. He was pitching Elizabeth Warren. So was the New York Times. They gave that double endorsement to Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar. And this is because that is who they thought was the appropriate heir apparent to the party. So when you see people from the Obama camp who didn't back Biden until after he locked down the nomination, who didn't back Biden in 2016 when he thought he had a good chance of being president, and you wonder why he's not listening to them, you wonder why he's not listening to the New York Times, that is the reason why, because these people have essentially betrayed or wronged Joe Biden in the past, the Joe Biden camp, even if he's not all there, the people that are surrounding him, and they don't want to bend the knee to them, especially when they've been proven wrong before.
And they are, because they're cowards. Let's call a spade, okay? Let's call it what they are. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, total cowards. Like, oh, what does the leader say? We bow to you. 36%, you don't mind losing to Trump. Every person right now that's saying Biden should be the nominee is saying, I don't care about losing to Trump at all. Look, Biden said another lie in one of these interviews. He said, oh, people doubted me in 2020. That's not remotely true. Okay, right, and oh, I was losing in 20. No, you weren't.
Look, people love to rewrite history of the 2020 Democratic primaries, pretend that Joe Biden was a shoo-in, but remember, he was limping into South Carolina after terrible finishes in the first three states, Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, and guess what? He was also out of money because Bloomberg ended up entering the race, and although he wasn't taking the big money donors, he convinced them to not spend any money to see if Bloomberg would actually have a chance. Not to mention, this guy was pillaging staff, and the way that he convinced them in order to join his team and the DNC to not back any other candidate was he offered them this sophisticated data model in order to buy off their support so he could have a shot. And he was still in the race in Super Tuesday. He got more votes than did Elizabeth Warren, who people think screwed over Bernie Sanders. And Biden, broke and short-staffed, still beat them all. Biden, who didn't even have campaign offices in various states that he won on Super Tuesday, ended up demolishing every other candidate and securing the nomination. Then people came to back Biden. Then they jumped on board. And I understand that Klobuchar and Buttigieg ended up endorsing him earlier than that, but the fact of the matter is they had no likely choice because these were people who had 0% black support, and we were going into all the states where the majority of Democratic primary voters happened to be black people, which Biden had a lock on. So yeah, Cenk can scream and cry all he wants about them backing Joe Biden and Biden not backing down, but he actually has logical reasons, or at least members of his team that are running the show, because I do believe Biden is in cognitive decline, have logical reasons for doing so. They have a track record for wanting to back this guy, and it makes sense for not only Joe Biden, but for the Democratic Party, if all they care about is the chance of winning the 2024 election, for them to stay. Now, Cenk is going to break down the dire polling numbers. Look, you have to face it. It does not look good for Biden as of right now.
So at this point in the race in 2020, at this exact time, Biden was up by 9 points. And he barely won with 44,000 votes in 3 swing states.
I know.
He was up by 9. He's now down by 3 to 6. Do you understand that's impossible? No, you don't. That's the thing. If you're an average layman, I don't blame you at all. How are you supposed to know what's impossible in politics? It's like saying, oh, can you unclog that toilet? How do you know? You're not a plumber, right?
I mean, I can figure it out.
Okay, but everyone who knows politics, Ezra Klein, David Axelrod, James Carville, Nate Silver, myself, look, we don't agree on policy, but we all agree on numbers.
But even with that, going into this shady scheme where you're going to try to swap them at the convention, build up name recognition, and not look like crazy conspiracy stuff is going to be a disaster for the Democratic Party. On top of that, Trump is going to talk nonstop about how he knocked the president of the United States of America out of the race with just one debate. He's going to take that victory and run roughshod over whatever third-tier Democratic candidate they're going to put up. Because again, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, anybody who thinks they have a shot at the 2028 nomination is not in any way, shape, or form going to sacrifice that for this Hail Mary win, because none of these people actually believe that the evil orange man is going to end democracy as we know it. It's not true. It's not remotely true. Maybe some of the dumb people who believe it are people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and that's why she's backing Joe Biden. But the fact of the matter is, outside of that, people with rational brains don't actually buy into this. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I want to know if you believe that I'm not only right that Biden's not leaving, but this actually gives the Democrats, as of right now, the best chance to win. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about TYT melting down over Ocasio-Cortez doing the most predictable action ever. Till next time.